Okay, I have my fins on. They've been drying for maybe 10 minutes. I had to fix that one fin that I kind of goofed on. But I haven't put the launching lugs on. So this model has 2 lugs. It has one right about here. I can see the marks are here. And one in the back right there. And again, previously we scuffed that with the sandpaper to make sure that the glue will stick. There's a little trick that I like doing to help me get these on properly. There's also glassine on these launch lugs, so if you leave it on there, the lug itself is not going to stick well. What I like to do is I like to make a little mark on the top of this, and I have that mark. I'm just going to use that to identify the top of the lug and then sand the bottom of it. You don't need to do a lot, just enough to scuff it a little bit. So now when I place it, I just place it with the mark up. Do the same thing with this one. Things are a little hard to hold. That's all it takes, just a couple little scrapes just to remove some of that really shiny glassine on the launch lug. Now, question of glue comes up again. This will be under tremendous stress, and when something's under stress, I like to go with the more industrial adhesive. So to me, that means E6000. Again, this will dry as kind of like a very, very hard rubber. So if there's any force or pulling on it, it's going to have a little bit of a rubbery give to it, which will allow it to absorb the forces rather than just snapping off when it gets to be too much. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this. Again, I like to take this little rod, little glob of glue on the end. So now given I have the lug here, and my fingers are certainly much larger than the lug, I can go ahead and put this on the bottom half. And now I can go ahead and stick this down on the rocket. You see there's 2 of them. One of them is right down here. I'll stick this one on first. The other reason I like using this is that the wood glue is too thin. So if you try to line it up, it's going to slide back and forth. But then when it sets, it's too stiff, in which case you can't move it without turning the lug off. The E6000 gives us the ability to better manipulate the lug while it's still wet because it's nice and thick and gooey. I'm going to use this to kind of take off any of the glue that squeezed out. Okay, so this lug is on here. Now, I draw my line all the way down. I'm going to sight along this just to make sure that it's along the line. Everything looks good. Line this up just a little tad off. Okay, I know you can't see me doing it, but I'm looking down through the lug along the line that goes all the way down to the end. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the lug that goes up here. This lug is closer to the center of balance, and this basically will keep it from twisting on this. And if you think about it, the center of balance is where the rocket's going to twist, so you want to have a lug there, but you also want one at the far end to keep it from twisting the center. So this is a very nice arrangement, and it's going to work very well. So let me get the other lug ready. Get some glue here. I have my line, so I know where it is sanded, so that means the opposite side has been sanded. Okay. Now we have the rocket here. And we got the forward lug mark that's right here. And just line that up. And again, I like to use my ruler here to scrape in front and behind the lug to make sure there's no glue sticking out. With this particular glue, it kind of forms its own fillet. You see there's plenty of glue sticking out on the sides, and it basically creates its own fillet as it dries. Okay, so these two should be in line. Now I'm just going to look through the first one. I should be able to see through the second one. Okay, that looks good. And doing it for both ends. Yes, okay. So again, all I did was just look through the first lug and I could see through the second lug, and I could see the line. Then look through the line through the first lug and you could see the second lug. So now these two are very, very well aligned. Sometimes they talk about, just run a rod through it. Well, you do that, you're going to pull them off because the glue isn't dry. If the glue isn't dry, the rod's not going to help you any. So I don't do that. There's also another technique where basically you put the lugs on the side, then you roll the tube on the table, which means you got to put the lugs on first, in which case the table will straighten the two out. I tried that, but it's just really difficult to get that to work with the glue sloshing around as well. Okay, so now I have this, the rocket body is done. What I'm going to do now is put the fillets on here, and to do that I use Type Bond Type 3. Grab that. Okay, Type Bond Type 3. This glue will take a little bit longer to set. It's a little bit more runny. So you put it on as a fairly thin fillet, and then if you want larger fillets, you just kind of build it up. I found I just use one application of this glue, and everything is fine with the rocket. And I've never had a fin break off. I've had the fin plus the glue plus the body tear off. But with this stuff, I've never had a fin problem. What I'm going to do is open this glue and put a couple of fillets on. And when working with glue, there's always one wet paper towel and one dry one handy. Okay, just going to go ahead and put this on. And as you notice, these fins have been drying as I've been talking, and they're basically dry now. So put a little bit on there, smooth it out, and a little bit more. Again, I am concerned about how thin these fins are, so it's important to use some very, very strong glue here. Now, if you use a smaller fillet like this, you don't have to worry about it running. So go ahead and use a thin, small fillet, and it won't run all over. Unless you use a lot like that, but let's go ahead and smooth that out. There we go. Should be noted that I have used epoxy and E6000 for this on the mid-power rockets. If you're using epoxy, a trick is that you spray that rubbing alcohol onto your finger, and then your finger can be used to smooth it out, and it just rubs right off. So that's nice. You make fillets out of epoxy or E6000. I did that on my Photon rocket. Okay, so there we have it. I put the fillets on, and I'm going to put this on my heat lamp Again, all it is just a good old lamp from my daughter's college days. And there's the wire that I have hanging over it. It's going to put the wire into the engine mount and just let this heat up. And actually, in 1 hour, this Type Bond 3 will be completely dry. I will be able to start painting it. I'll do another video on the painting. Well, there's different ways to paint this. I noticed that the rocket itself has a red paint. I've seen the Black Brant with a completely black paint. I bought a very interesting paint. Let me grab that real quick. I saw this paint on a video by Dave Thomas. It's actually black with sparkles in it, so when you see it, it's got the little sparkles. That should look really cool. So I'm going to paint this with a base coat of primer. And I'll talk about the materials and the spray paints and all that stuff a little bit later, because it's very, very important to use a primer. There are paints with primers, but they don't always work that well. So I'll talk about that in the next video. So for now, I'm going to let this dry, and then tonight I'm going to prime it, and then tomorrow morning I'm going to paint it. Okay, that's that. Bye.